Before we had a baby, my husband used to talk constantly about how modern fathers should be different. He said he hated the stereotype of mothers doing everything while fathers kept their freedom. He said he would never let me disappear into motherhood. Now our daughter is 11 weeks old, and somehow his life barely changed while mine completely disappeared. My name is Claire. I'm 33. My husband Ryan is 34. Our daughter, Ellie, was not exactly planned, but once we found out, Ryan acted excited immediately. Honestly, part of why I agreed to go through with the pregnancy was because of how much he reassured me. I had spent years saying I was scared of becoming one of those women whose entire existence gets absorbed into childcare, while the father still gets to be a person. Ryan said, "That won't happen to us." That sentence plays in my head constantly now, because it absolutely happened to us. I had a rough pregnancy, then an emergency C-section. Recovery was harder than I expected. I am still breastfeeding, still waking up constantly at night, still trying to heal while carrying a baby who screams the second I put her down. Meanwhile, Ryan sleeps in the guest room because he needs rest for work. At first, I agreed with that. He works full-time. I told myself it made sense. But then I realized something. Work is not the reason he still has a life. His priorities are: Ryan works Monday through Friday. But outside of work, he somehow still has time for his gym league, his cycling group, his weekly poker night, and helping his brother renovate a rental property every weekend. Every single thing apparently became important. Meanwhile, I cannot even shower without planning it like a military operation. Last Tuesday was the moment something snapped in me. Ellie had been screaming almost nonstop since 5 a.m. I had not eaten properly. I was still in the same shirt from the night before because she spit up on the second clean one I tried to wear. The apartment looked awful. Laundry everywhere. Bottles piled in the sink. Groceries running low. Ryan got home around 6, kissed Ellie's forehead, changed his shirt, and said, "I'm heading out soon." I just stared at him. I asked, "For what?" He said, "Cycling night, I told you." I said, "You're seriously leaving again?" He looked annoyed immediately. Not guilty. Annoyed. He said, "I work all day, Claire. I need something for myself, too." That line honestly changed how I see him, because apparently only his exhaustion counts as real exhaustion. I said, "When exactly do I get something for myself?" He shrugged and said, "You're home during the day." Home, like staying alive with a newborn, is some kind of vacation. I told him I had slept maybe 3 hours total the night before. He said, "So what do you want me to do? Quit everything?" I said, "I want you to act like you actually became a parent." That started the fight. He kept saying I was being unfair because he helps when he's home. And technically, yes, he does. He holds the baby sometimes. He changes diapers occasionally. He brings me coffee in the morning, like that somehow balances everything else. But the problem is that his life is built around optional freedom, while mine is built around constant responsibility. If Ryan wants to leave the apartment, he leaves. If I want to leave, I need to. Time of feeding, pack supplies, hope Ellie doesn't scream through the entire car ride, and pray I physically have enough energy. Those are not equal lives. The next part is where people started taking sides. Ryan complained to his family. Suddenly, his mother was texting me saying, "Men need balance too." His sister told me, "You can't expect him to stop living his life." That line irritated me more than anything, because nobody was asking why I had to stop living mine. Apparently, motherhood automatically means sacrifice. Fatherhood apparently means keeping your hobbies while occasionally helping. I ended up snapping during Sunday dinner at his parents' house. His brother joked, "Ryan barely exists anymore now that he's a dad." Everyone laughed. I actually laughed too because the statement was so ridiculous. Ryan looked confused and said, "What's funny?" I said, You still leave the house more than anyone else in this room. Silence. Complete silence. His mother immediately said, "Claire, don't start." I said, "No, seriously, I want someone to explain this to me." I looked directly at Ryan. You still go cycling twice a week. You still do poker night. You still disappear every Saturday helping your brother. You sleep uninterrupted. You go to work, come home, and still get to decide who you are outside this baby. Then I asked, when exactly did my freedom become negotiable while yours stayed mandatory? Nobody answered. Ryan got angry after we got home. He said I embarrassed him. I said, "You promised me this wouldn't happen." He said, "I never said I'd give up my whole identity." I said, "Exactly, only mine disappeared." That was the turning point for me. Not because he leaves the house, not because he has hobbies, because he genuinely does not understand the imbalance. To him, parenthood is something added onto his life. To me, parenthood consumed my life entirely. And somehow, I'm still expected to be grateful he occasionally helps. 2 nights later, Ellie had another terrible night. I was exhausted. At around 3 a.m., I walked into the guest room and woke Ryan up. He immediately looked irritated. I handed him the baby and said, "I'm taking a shower." He said, "Claire, I have work in the morning." I said, "And I have a baby in the morning." Then I walked away. When I came back 20 minutes later, Ellie was crying and Ryan looked overwhelmed. He said, "She won't settle." I said, "Yeah, that happens every night." Then I took her back. Ryan actually looked shocked, like he had just experienced something new. I realized that despite being her father for almost 3 months, he still had no idea what my nights actually looked like. The next day, he told me I was becoming resentful and bitter. Honestly, maybe I am. But I think women get called bitter the second they stop quietly absorbing unfairness. Now we're stuck in this weird tension where Ryan thinks I'm trying to control him, and I think he's avoiding responsibility while pretending he's involved. And before people say, "Just communicate better," I did. Before pregnancy, during pregnancy, after birth, I communicated the exact fear I had from the beginning, that motherhood would cost me everything, while fatherhood would mostly leave his life intact. Ryan promised that would never happen. Then the baby arrived, and suddenly his hobbies, sleep, freedom, and independence all stayed protected while mine disappeared overnight. Update 1. Ryan skipped poker night this week. Not because he suddenly understood. Because after our argument, his friends apparently told him it looked bad. That annoyed me more than if he had gone, because it means he listened faster to other men than to me. Update 2. His mother called again. She told me, "You should appreciate that Ryan is such an active father." I almost laughed. The bar for fathers is honestly underground. If a mother behaved the way Ryan does, everyone would call her selfish immediately. But fathers get praised for doing 20% and smiling while doing it. Update 3. I honestly don't know where this goes from here. I love my daughter more than anything. But I'm starting to look at my marriage differently. Because resentment grows very fast when one person sacrifices out of obligation, while the other sacrifices only when convenient. Ryan wanted the joy of becoming a father. He just didn't want fatherhood to inconvenience him the way motherhood inconvenienced me. And maybe that sounds harsh, but I think a lot of women quietly realize the exact same thing after having children. The difference is that most are too exhausted to say it out loud.